there she is, looking lovely.
Morning.
Good morning. And now I have a tickle in my throat, but I was saying nice things about you.
I know you were. I heard them because even though I didn't have my video on, I had my audio on.
There we go.
I really wanted to give you guys a background tour. My daughter just bought a house and she's got like people putting carpet in and there's boxes everywhere. Great place to work.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
But you're getting it done anyway, which is what you do.
Well, she's getting it.
Well, you're here.
No. You want to know something? I cannot find what I prepared over the weekend that I really was like all hot and bothered and wanted to share with everybody. But I know as soon as like the show's over, I'll remember what it was. But I have other stuff and we have questions.
Is it stuff that you sent me? Because you sent me a lot of stuff.
Well, I didn't send you everything.
Okay.
But I did want to mention what's going on with reading. I think that's important.
Let's go. Yeah.
Okay. So Shannon has, and she'll send to everyone, information that's really important in California, but I feel like sometimes California goes, so goes the whole 50 states. So this is a move that is attempting to roll back more stringent requirements as far as what kind of methods need to be used to teach reading to students. And within there's a very profound article, which I can resend, but I think you have it, called Reading is Rocket Science. And this article is from 1999, but it talks about how people learn how to read, what kind of problems can occur, how we really, really know well now that multisensory methods, research-based, work better than anything else. And the article talks about this isn't really a economic thing or a color thing. Their position is all children can learn how to read, even if they're from a underperforming school or whatever the issue is, but you have to have the right approach. And it also talks about how teachers don't get the kind of instruction in school or in teacher training that they need to teach reading, because reading is complex. Why am I talking about all this now? Because at 1 o'clock today, PST, they're going to vote on this issue. And what I gave Shannon was something that allows you to weigh in on this issue if you want California to keep their current standards, which are actually really good and have only been in play for like a few years, and we really haven't had time to see the benefit of all of it. But I'm telling you, the reason they want to take this away is because they're going to go back to a system where it's like eclectic and teachers get to choose, and they're not going to have a lot of initial training. They're not going to have ongoing training, and it's not going to produce the results. And I feel like this is a totally relevant issue for the autism community, because like 30% of our kiddos have reading comprehension and other issues that need to be addressed by reading instruction. So that's Reading is Rocket Science. I'm going to be talking to you in the next few weeks a lot about fall and what to do for fall, and we can certainly revisit that today. I had an issue come up last week, though, that I wanted to share with the readers, with the listeners, because I think it might be relevant to stuff you encounter. So we typically see this in an initial evaluation for a child with autism, which is intended to qualify him for eligibility for special education. And oftentimes, if it's a little kid, they'll do a multidisciplinary team report, but sometimes they'll do separate academic and cognitive by the psychologist, and then they'll do speech by the speech therapist. What you don't tend to see is occupational therapy, vision therapy, assistive technology, central auditory processing. But the district is required to assess in all areas of suspected disability. And I bet if Shannon thinks back on this, she's going to realize there's a pattern, which is they always skip the OT if they can get away with it. So we have a client, his son is older, he's like 12 or 13. He's transitioning to LA Unified. So he's had a CREDI 504 plan in an online charter school for several years. So they're reassessing him for eligibility, and they didn't do OT. So dad wrote to the district and asked for an IEE in the area of OT because they waited like 6 months and they haven't assessed him. And LAUSD wrote back and said, hey, listen, we didn't assess in the area of OT, but we'll do it now. So Shannon has, and I think you have, if not, I'll resend it to you. Shannon has 2 letters from OSEP, which is the Office of Special Education Programs, commenting on this issue. One is a letter to Carol and one is a letter to Baus. And there are things that have been, around for a while. This isn't anything super new, but they're really eloquent because they say, if the district waits an unreasonable time to assess, you can ask for an IEE. And the remedy for a delay in assessing in an area of suspected disabilities is not to offer to assess again. And in fact, I think it's letter to Baus that says the remedy, the best way you can protect against getting IEE requests is listen carefully when you talk to parents and you develop that initial assessment plan. So,
but remind them what IEE stands for.
Oh, I'm sorry, independent educational evaluation, a private evaluation paid for at district expense.
Yes, that's the important part, is that your kid will be evaluated by someone outside the school and the school will pay for it, folks.
And you can likely pick that person as long as they meet the criteria. So,
and that is a thing devoutly to be wished. That's a good thing. When you have somebody who isn't at the school evaluating your kiddo on the, I think and especially if you're picking the person, you're going to get a better evaluation that isn't tied to what it's going to cost them. Is
correct.
Basically the thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I tell parents, this is so important and it's potentially free. It's going to make me so much more appropriately targeted in designing a strategy for your case. I have to know what's wrong to design a strategy. I can't necessarily tell what's wrong based on the school district assessments. So these 2 policy letters basically say you got to assess in all areas of suspected disability within a reasonable time. If you don't and the parent asks for IEEs, you've only got 2 choices. You either have to file for due process and prove that your evaluation is appropriate, or you have to fund the IEE. And it goes on to say there's no third option. So those are interesting for you to read. They're not long, but I think they're very thoughtful in terms of how districts are supposed to be conceptualizing the initial assessment task. And, so this letter that we wrote for the client now has occasioned a letter back to LAUSD, but also we have asked CDE, California Department of Education, to get involved because we think that when they tell the district you're going to have to fund the IEE, they're probably going to do it. So that is something that you will encounter from time to time. There's lots of IEE tricks. The districts don't want to file for due process because they don't want to create a whole new case project for themselves that they have to take on. Sometimes they will say things like, sure, you can have an outside evaluation at district expense, and then they'll give you the name of a psychologist in let's say the same special education local planning area that works for a school district and say, this person can do it. That's illegal. And it's also illegal for them to say you have to go with, a person on the list. And, they're also not supposed to say, if you ask for an IEE, they're not supposed to threaten you and tell you, no, don't ask for that. They're supposed to either file for due process and defend their evaluation as appropriate, or they're supposed to pay for your IEE. So watch out for that.
Okay, good to know.
Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.